This is the BiggerPockets Podcast, show 259.
Woo! You're listening to BiggerPockets Radio, simplifying real estate for investors large and small. If you're here looking to learn about real estate investing without all the hype, you're in the right place. Stay tuned and be sure to join the millions of others who have benefited from BiggerPockets.com, your home for real estate investing online.
What is going on, everyone? This is Brandon, the host or co-host of the BiggerPockets Podcast today, here with my guest co-host or host, Mindy Jensen. How you doing, Mindy?
I am doing wonderful, Brandon. Thank you very much. How are you doing?
Man, you know what? Life is good. Christmas is over now, which, we were recording this before Christmas, but whatever. Man, what a stressful holiday.
Oh, my goodness. I can't believe it. Random comments.
Good. No, things are good. If all is scheduled to go the way I think it's supposed to go, which, again, we're recording this a few weeks earlier, I should have both my apartment and my mobile home park closed here by the end of the month. So it should be like any day now. So, yeah.
Well, that's very exciting. I'm super excited for you. We're going to have to go and take another episode to really dive deep into your investment and your experience with the 1031.
We will have to do that.
Your mobile home park. Very excited about that.
There you go. Well, cool. All right. Well, what you been up to? Anything fun? Anything exciting? I haven't had you on the podcast in a while, so we need an update.
I know. So Scott and I have started our new podcast.
That's right. That's coming out here in just a few days from now.
January 1st is our very first episode, and we are getting ready to record. We've recorded several episodes already, but we were really hoping to get a first guest on, a very special first guest. And can I say who it is? I don't know. We haven't recorded it yet. I think I'm going to tease you and say you should listen in on January 1st, Kickstart 2018, by listening to Mindy Jensen and Scott Trench interview a very special guest.
Wow, that's a good
tease. We're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about finances in general. One of the biggest questions that we get in the BiggerPockets forums at BiggerPockets.com/forums is, how do I get started investing with no money and bad credit? And I know you wrote the book on investing with no money, but you, Brandon Turner, can invest with no money. I don't know about your credit. I'm assuming it's not terrible.
It's not too shabby,
However,
I just found out yesterday my wife is beating me on credit score, and that made me sad.
I beat Carl.
Did you? Wow.
I beat Carl all the time.
Wow.
And it was funny because for a while I was a stay-at-home mom. So I had no income and he had an income and I have a better credit score. So I guess the moral of that story is don't have a job.
Don't have a job. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's a great idea. No. So anyway, back to the question.
So you're having launching a podcast.
We're launching a podcast. Airs January 1. It is about finances.
How to be rich with money.
How to be rich with money. Exactly. No, we want to help you fix your no money and bad credit situation.
Is it only for people with bad credit and no money? Is that the only people who listen to this show? We know this show is for everybody who wants to be smarter with money. What's the show called? Do you guys have an official name yet?
So around the office, I call it the S&M podcast, the Scott and Mindy podcast. But apparently that has different connotations.
I can't
call it that.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be called BiggerPockets Money.
Cool.
But we'll see in a couple of days when it comes out.
Well, when it comes out, guys, make sure you listen to it and then rate and review that show as well. We're going to launch, hopefully, the biggest personal finance podcast on the planet. That is the goal here. So with that, let's get into today's show. But before we do, I want to get to today's quick tip. All right, today's quick tip is very, very simple. Next week, like the first Wednesday in January, we're doing a special once-a-year webinar called How to Make 2018 Your Best Year Ever, best real estate investing year ever. And I'm going to be going through how to make a plan for the full year, how to really kickstart your investing, how to do all that stuff. So go to BiggerPockets.com/webinar if you're watching this webinar or listening to it about the time that this comes out, and sign up because it's going to be life-changing. I did this a year ago. I did How to Make 2017, and people thought it was the best thing ever. So I'm going to repeat it, tweak it, change it, make it a little bit more closely related to this year, what the market is like today, and how to find deals, how to fund them, how to set a plan, how to set your goals. It's going to be epic. So BiggerPockets.com/webinar. That's your quick tip.
And that is Wednesday, January 3rd.
That it is.
2018. What time is that, Brandon?
I think it's going to be at 4 p.m. Pacific time, but I might change that. So go check the site and go see what time it's at. I got a couple of days to figure that out.
Okay, biggerpockets.com/webinar. Okay, so thank you very much, Brandon, for that quick tip. I will say that I've sat in on some of your webinars, and they're always really, really, really great.
Thank you.
You're pretty
Mindy.
good at what you do.
I'll give you your $20 later for saying
Thank you.
that. Yep. All right, let's get into today's show. Mindy, today's guest is somebody that you have been bugging me to get on the show for a while now because you said he has the best stories of any guest we've ever had, and I don't disagree. This guy is a riot. In a lot of ways.
He's been investing since way before your mother was born.
I think that's true. Yeah, he is.
I can't even say that he's been investing since before you were born because that's nothing. He's been investing. That doesn't accurately convey how long Mike has been investing in real estate. Mike has seen it all and done it all. He currently owns a mortgage company, and he talks about financing in this. In this episode, he talks about general mindset, what newbies need to do to get going.
Yep. This is like old school advice for newer and older investors. Like it's just like how do you condense down 60 years of real estate knowledge into one episode? Like this pretty much does it. So you guys are gonna love it. Yeah. Should we do it?
This is a really awesome episode. Let's bring Mike in.
All right. Mike, welcome to the Bigger Pockets podcast, man. It's good to have you here.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, this should be a lot of fun. Now you came on the show because you are friends with Tim Shiner, correct?
That is correct. A very dear friend of mine. Very
good.
sharp man.
And a very, very good episode of the show. Mindy, what number was that? Do you remember off the top of your head?
That was episode number 221 with Tim Scheider, where he talked about his phrase was buy from me and tear up your lease for free.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
He means that, too. And now if you buy a house from his wife, he'll tear up the lease, and she makes a commission on the house that she sells. So it's really a pretty good deal. I mean, it's good for both parties involved.
I have heard from so many people who have said that is such an excellent tip. And, it makes sense. It's like a no-brainer once you hear it. But I don't think as many people listen to it or think of that as they should.
Yeah, well, most people that are in this business, and investors, are not being in real estate business anyway. So it's really, it's a great idea for what he does with renters. Like Tim owns a lot of expensive property in a nice area in Dallas, so he can get away with it. It's got a lot of demand for him. So they make money doing it. But I think Tim would do it just because he's a good guy. I don't think he does particularly make money. I really believe that. But that's the way Tim is. But, talking about investors, one of the questions, you going to ask me some questions. Maybe you want to ask those first, or you want to just carry on here?
You do what you want, and I'll just jump in when I feel like it.
Well, I had an earlier podcast from gentlemen, and they were asking me about particularly novice investors or new investors in the market. One of the questions they asked me how I got into it. When I was working for my dad's company when I was just getting out of college, and my dad owned an appliance store company and a large parts distributorship for Southwest and stove parts and refrigeration parts. And I had no clue I wanted to go into real estate or anything like that. So one day, a guy was in the office and buying some parts from us, and he said, "I want to sell my house. You want to buy it?" And I said, "Well, how much you want for it?" And he said, $32.50. And I said, "How much down?" He said, $500.
Wait, what? $32.50.
$3,200. Well, this was 55 years ago.
Okay, I'm sorry. Continue.
Well, that's how long I've been doing this now. I'm sorry, but I'll never forget the story because it's a true story. Anyway, it was $3,250. Wow. He wanted $500 down and $50 a month. So I bought it, and I put up a rent sign in my dad's store because plenty of customers came in. I rented a couple of days' time for $100 a month. And about 3 months later, my wife and I were building a house, and we were short on budget. We went over budget. So I called a friend of mine that was in the mortgage business. Said, Red Rutledge was his name. I said, "Red, I need to sell this house and get some cash out of it." And I said, "What will this house bring?" He went and looked at it. He said, "It'll bring $11,000. And I said, $11,000? I just paid $32.50 for it. He said, "Yeah." So I put signs up in my dad's store, and I sold it in 3 days' time to a couple, and I made about $8,000 on it in 3 months' time. Didn't have to do any repairs or anything. I sold it to FHA. And so Mike, I got to look at that.
Real quick, what would that house be worth today, do you think? What would you guess?
100,000.
Okay. So it's like...
But we're talking about 55 years ago, so it's all relative.
It's been a while, yeah.
Right. So I told my dad, I said, Dad, I just made $8,000 in 2 or 3 months. I didn't do any work on it. So I started buying and selling houses, 2 or 3 a month, and was making, pretty good money, $15,000 a month, $12,000 a month. And this was right after I was out of college. So I told my dad I was resigning. He said, "No, you got to stay here 6 months because you're a valuable part of the operation." So I stayed there 6 months and did real estate on the side. So I was buying and selling 4 or 5 houses a month. And I learned a lot from buying and selling houses. I didn't make a lot per house. A lot of investors back then, if I could make $3,000 or $4,000 a house, that was sufficient for me. But if you're doing 3 or 4 a month or 5 a month, so the one thing I would tell investors is buy right. In other words, you got to buy under market to buy houses. I later on was buying as many as 200 homes a month. Wow. I actually had a line of credit with FHA in Washington, D.C. for $1 million. I could borrow $1 million from HUD in Washington to buy their foreclosures. So it got to be a big business with me maybe 3 or 4 years after I went in the business. But what I found is 3 things about mortgage or people that are buying houses. One of the things they do that I don't particularly like is they go to these seminars and they buy these books and tapes. They're $1,500, $2,000 about how to make $1 million in the real estate business with no damn work.
Yep.
And all those books need to say, when you open the first page, it's good damn luck because they ain't going to happen. So they're all adapted to experience doing it, but not near the experience, in my opinion, to be telling people how to make money. And they really don't tell people what I think is the essential to make money. It's called hard work.
Yeah.
I can tell you that most investors, it really is, Mindy. It really is. It's all about hard work. So if you're the type of a passive investor that thinks you're going to go buy a house and rent it or flip it, whatever the case may be, first of all, you have to set your objectives. And your objective may be 2 or 3 different things, particularly if you're looking for rental property. Rental property, a lot of people are buying rental property for retirement. They want to buy a house, pay for it for 15 years. They may be 50 years old when they're retired. They want to live on the income from that house. Yep. Those type of people are buying more expensive homes, in my opinion. They're buying homes in the $300,000 to $400,000 range, or whatever the case may be in your particular area. And they're in generally better school districts. That's an important thing for investors to look at, what school district it's in, because school districts in the Metroplex of Dallas, you can be 2 blocks away, the same house, and one be in one school district, it'll rent for $1,000 more than the other one. It's not in as good a school district. Wow. So I think it's very important for people to look at school districts when they're buying rental property. But there's 2 basic differences in rental property. There's one that's called cash flow. That's just all you're buying is cash flow, and the other one's appreciation. So a guy that may be buying appreciation may have a job somewhere else, and it's a sideline for him. He's just looking for retirement. He may be making $100,000 a year, $150,000 a year, and he'll buy one in a pretty good neighborhood that may cash flow $300 or $400 a month, which is not enough to cover expenses by the time you do maintenance, repairs, reserves for upkeep, etc. But he's breaking even on it. And his hope is that over 10 or 15 years, that house will go from, say, $300,000 to, say, $450,000. 425, whatever, depending on what the market is, you have no control over that. That's one type of investor. And in my opinion, those investors should look at finance for 15 years, because they're not looking for cash flow. They're looking for appreciation, and that house be paid off. Excuse me, because a 30-year note pays down 25% the first 5 years, where a 15-year note pays down 7%. So if you're buying it as an investment tool to retire on, look at a 15-year note, because the payments are about 15, 18% higher than a 30-year note, and the equity bill is so much better. The other side of that coin is buying for pure cash flow. And I can tell you this unequivocally, that the least expensive home you can buy is going to cash flow better. For example, I'd rather have, if I were going for cash flow, I'd rather have 3 $100,000 homes than one $300,000 home, because the 3 $100,000 homes will rent for $1,500 a month, or a $300,000 home may rent for $2,500 a month. So the cash flow is significantly different between a more expensive home. The more expensive homes, the less cash flow you're going to get, a return on your dollar. But they have more appreciation potential. So that's what buyers need to identify going in, is what their goal is. Because a lot of them I talk to have well, I'm just buying real estate to make money. For what reason? Yeah. Does that make any sense to you?
You know, this is a big debate we hear on the side all the time about, do you buy for cash flow or do we buy for, appreciation? Why is somebody buying? Where do you draw the line? Like, where do you think somebody should aim for appreciation, and where should somebody aim for cash flow?
I think the guy that aims for cash flow needs the cash to live on, or is building a portfolio where the guy building for appreciation and retirement has enough income to where if he loses $300 or $400 a month on a house, it's not going to set him back any at all. So they're 2 entirely different products, and that's what these investors don't do, in my opinion, is to identify what their goal is. Yep. I mean, how are you going to buy real estate if you don't know what your goal is? Keep it, flip it, buy it, sell it. Now, flipping houses, that's an entirely different situation. But I can tell you that, in my opinion, it's not an opinion, it's fact as far as I'm concerned. I'm highly opinionated, and I highly believe my own opinion. just because I've had a lot of experience doing this. I've never made any money the easy way. I can tell you a story, and this happened when I was about 25 years old, so it was 49 years ago. I used to keep a book, and when I was driving down the streets and I saw some houses I thought either for sale owner or house that was deserted, I'd go back up and look it up, map and plats, and find out who the owner was, call them on the phone and go, my name is Mike Anderson. Are you interested in selling your house? Yes, I am. How much you want for it? And we try to make a deal, and most of them would hang up on me because I was trying to steal their homes.
Yep.
And that's true. I never told anybody they were getting a good deal because they wasn't getting a good deal. Anyway, I was driving down the street when I was about 25 years old, and I saw 8 homes on the same street, and then one of them had a rental sign on it. So I went back to my office, and I called, and the name was Evelyn Sibley. I'll never forget it. She lived in Waxahachie, Texas, a little suburb of Dallas. And these houses were worth about $18,000. I called her on the phone to Miss Sibley. I'm a real estate investor. I'm interested in buying your rental homes. Are you interested in selling them? She said, yeah, I'd think about selling them. How much you give me for them? And I said, I'll give you $64,000 cash for all 8 of them. And she went off on me she said, you call me a thief, a crook, every kind of name in the book, cussed me out and said, I would never deal with you. You're a damn crook, and slammed the phone down on me. And so I was thinking, well, she was telling the truth. I was trying to steal her home. So why would I be upset with her? I wasn't. So anyway, I had this little book, a green book, a spiral notebook, and I wrote $1 million on the outside, but I wouldn't get rid of that book until I made $1 million. So these people I'd call over the years, I'd put in this book, and I called them every Friday afternoon because you never know. If you catch somebody who wants to sell or doesn't want to sell. So every year for 3 or 4 years, I'm not kidding you, it actually took me 5 years. I called her on the phone every Friday afternoon. It was about a 10-second conversation. I'd say, Miss Sibley, this is Mike Anderson. She'd go, you're the crook that's trying to steal my homes. Don't ever call me again. Slam the phone down. And after about 2 or 3 years, so it's a true story. After about 2 or 3 years, my staff would go, Mike, what is wrong with you? That lady's never going to sell. I'll go, it takes 10 seconds a week. Who cares? Yeah. It's not bothering me. I don't have anything to do on Friday afternoon. Fridays were slow in the real estate business. So one Friday after 5 years, I called her on the phone and she was crying. And I said, Miss Sibley, what is wrong with you? And she said, I was up collecting my rent today, and some guy stuck up behind me and hit me in the head with a pipe and took my purse and all my money in it and I drove off in my new Cadillac. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said, oh, Miss Sibley, I'm so sorry. Would you like to sell your house? She said, yes, I want to sell them. I drove down there that night, 30 miles at 6 o'clock at night, signed a contract. I made $80,000, and that was 49 years ago, so figure it out. What I'm saying is perseverance, which people don't have the perseverance to do what I'm talking about doing. But if you want to make any money, you can be a buy. Look, I call them players and non-players. You can be what I call a non-player, which is kind of play on the sidelines and never get in the game, or you can get in the game. If you're going to get in the game, I'm telling you right now, if you listen to this podcast, it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of luck on top of it, and a lot of ethics. You don't need a lot of people. If you're trying to buy a house from somebody on a wholesale level, and they go, well, you're trying to sell them. I go, yeah, I am, but I've got to pay sales expense. I got to pay holding costs. I got to pay insurance. I got to pay taxes. I got to fix it up, and I'm going to make a reasonable profit. People understand that. But if you tell somebody, oh, I'm paying retail for it, they know damn well you're not doing it. So why even pull that?
I like that phrase. I need to make a reasonable profit. I mean, nobody's going to argue with that. Yeah. That's what every business does.
They really do. So, and these books that people read, I actually went to a big CBS, and that's when I was on stage with Robert Kiyosaki and some other well-known speakers from New York and other places. And most of these guys were selling their books and tapes and everything. And I was the last speaker up, and most of the audience was here in Dallas, and they knew me because I had a radio program on CBS for 16 years. Oh, wow. So they really wanted to hear what I said. And when I got up there, I said, look, I wrote this book, and I'm telling you, for $1,750, it'll be the best book you've ever read in your life. It says how to make $1 million in 2 weeks' time in the real estate business. And I could see all of them going, oh, my God, he's going to try to sell us another book or tape. I go, no. And I said, here's it's easy as hell to read. I opened up the book, and it had one page in there that said, good luck. Because it ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. So I'm not a big believer in buying those books and tapes, because I think you have to get down and really dig in the dirt. It's kind of like going to war. Going to boot camps is different than going to war where they're shooting live bullets at you. So I'm just telling you, I can't emphasize how much time it takes to work on deals. And don't be scared to make offers. I know I wasn't ever scared about making an offer. I didn't care if I insulted somebody. I didn't like to insult them, but generally speaking, investors can insult somebody.
I ask people this all the time. Newbies come up to me and they say, I can't find any deals. The first question I always ask them is, how many offers did you made last week? And what's the answer always? None. Because people are so afraid to go and make an offer.
I was going to talk about that.
Yep.
You know, find a realtor you can trust that knows the market, that sits not in it for the commission. I work on the commission for the most part, and I've always told every loan officer that works for me and everybody else, don't worry about commissions, worry about your customers. If you care about your customers, commissions will take care of. So I interview some real estate agents and find out who got their act together, who knows what you're talking about. And in Texas, I don't know about the rest of the states, but you can make an offer on a house without even looking at it. So it wasn't uncommon for me to put an offer on a house I never looked at. I'd look through MLS, and I'd look for houses that need repairs, because a house in tip-top shape is going to bring tip-top dollar.
Yep.
And repairs didn't bother me, so that's one thing investors don't. You want to look at houses been on the market for 4 or 5 months and haven't moved. The prices have gone down steadily on, and the people are tired of showing it. They want to get their money out of it in a lot of cases. So make them an offer. You know, and my rule of thumb was, if I couldn't buy it for 75% of market value, in other words, let's say a house is $100,000, I might pay $75,000 for that house, and I would deduct my closing costs on it, which would be maybe 3%, and I'd also deduct the repairs. If I figured the repairs were $12,000 on it, I'd deduct $15,000, so I'd take the $15,000 for repairs, the $25,000 off the top of it, and $3,000 closing costs. I'd make them an offer of $62,000. If they took it, fine. If they didn't, they may counter with $64,000. Then you make it your mind. But don't get caught up in this trap. Well, I'm going to get this bidding war with somebody else. Make your mind up what you're going to pay for it. Don't go over that. So maybe.
I was going to say, what do you think percentage-wise you get rejected? Like over your years, like do you think you lose half, 3/4, 90%? How many rejections?
I'd say 75 to 80%.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, but I'm jumping in here.
Okay.
I got like 19 things to say, because you just keep talking. I'm like, wait. I got a question about this too.
I told you about that. Didn't I warn you?
You said you liked the money.
You did. Take a breath. Sit back. Okay, so I want to say you had call them every Friday. I'm looking, my notes got all womped up because I made a note someplace else. You said call them every Friday. You got your little book. We call that driving for dollars, when you drive around and you see houses you want. Dialing for dollars. Well, first you have to drive for them or walk for them, and then you come home and you look up where they are. You called them every Friday. I am in the BiggerPockets forums all day, every day, and I see people all the time. Oh, how often should I send a letter? I sent one once. Yeah. Okay, and you got a 0% response. That's because you're not being consistent. When somebody gets ready to sell, Evelyn got ready to sell to you. You called her right when she was ready to sell.
I called her at the moment when she needed to sell. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's not going to happen if you do it every 6 months.
The point of the matter, it didn't take any time. Yeah. I mean, it took me, 15, 20 seconds. And let me say something else. This is one of my pet peeves. I am so damn tired of people thinking that iPhones, I don't even have an iPhone, nor do I want one. I don't text. I don't need to text. You see a computer on my desk? I don't have one. I don't use a computer. I have 3 assistants that send out texts for me occasionally, maybe once or twice a day. I do probably 8 or 10 emails a day, but I pick up my phone and call people on the phone. It doesn't cause cancer to call people on the phone.
But it's scary, Mike. It's scary. I'm a millennial and I can't handle it.
What if they say no?
I can't tell you what to do. So what? I mean,
what if they say no? What if they don't like my offer, Mike?
Well, I say I'm finding another person that likes the offer. You'll find them. I mean, when you talk about how many offers I made on houses, it really, when you think about offering maybe 100 contracts a month, and you need to look at the house and what it takes, my secretary 5 minutes type up a contract and send it out. It's got a option period in there where I could back out of it anytime in 15 days. And if I happen to get one, because I wasn't going to waste my time. Let me tell you, time is of the essence to me. Always has been, always will be. I'm not going to waste my time driving out to somebody that I got a 5% chance of buying it.
Yep.
I'd rather shoot them an offer at my price, and if they accept the offer, then I'll get off my butt and go out there and look at it and do a takeoff on it. And if I don't like the house, I just back out of the contract and lose my option fee of $100 or $200. But I don't waste a lot of time doing it. And it's a numbers game. It's like, why do you take a shotgun when you're going bird hunting?
Yeah.
Instead of a pistol, because you got a lot more shots at it.
Yep.
So just fire at them. I'm serious. Just fire at them. And people are not going to be upset about it. And the realtor will turn those contracts out like crazy. And particularly if you're buying a few houses, he may cut you a deal on pay part of your closing cost, or maybe cut the commission if he's doing any volume with you. But even then, the realtor's not overpaid. I can tell you that. In my opinion, most of them aren't. They work hard, and for them to make 3%, particularly on what, depending on what product you have, they deserve. But any break you can get to save you money, that's money in your pocket. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I like the mentality that you come at this, and because I teach this online class every week to people, and my message is almost always the exact same. It's like, your job as an investor is not to go out and convince every single person to sell you a house. Your job is to simply follow a process. That is, you get leads, you go out and figure out what number makes sense, like you talked about, and then you go and make an offer. And if they take it, great. If not, move on to the next one. Like, this is largely a numbers game. In
today's market, you should be able to, as an investor, to make $10,000 on a house. That's after everything's said and done.
On a flip, or you're talking as a rental?
Flip.
Okay, yep.
Not rental.
Sure.
Flip market. I'm talking about purely flip there.
Sure.
If you can't make $8,000 or $10,000 a house, then pass it. Yep. There's too many things. I can tell you that 90% of the investors that start remodeling homes spend more money than they thought they were going to spend.
Yeah.
I'd go a little bit higher. I'd say 100% of investors remodeling homes.
They always absolutely think they're going to get top of market.
Yep.
They also absolutely think it's going to sell on the first day it comes on the market. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
In the hot markets down in Dallas Metroplex, is a hot market. It's not unusual for a house to have 15 contracts in one day's time. I'm not kidding you. If it's priced right.
Yep.
Those are in tip-top shape. So that's why I tell investors, find one with a little repairs. Find one with that needs with a lipstick on it to make it look pretty. And get out there and clean it up and make the drive-up appeal pretty good. And you can sell them. But if you look at it this way, if you can make $8,000 or $10,000 a house net, I'm talking about after all expenses, commissions, holding costs, taxes, insurance, the whole ball of wax, it's a pretty good living if you do that once a month. It's $96,000 a year. If you do it twice a month, it's $192,000 a year.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take rocket science to figure it out. But you're not going to find them sitting on your butt. I've never gotten a letter in the mail I can think of. You want to buy my house? Every house I've ever bought, I went after and bought.
How about you, Brandon? I'm the same with Mike. I've never gotten a letter that said, "Hey, Mindy, I think you might want to buy my house."
Yep, never have. Every deal I've ever got. That's why I like. Another thing we talk a lot here at BEP is like back in 2008 and 9, you could find good deals. Today, you can't find them. You have to make good deals. You have to go out there and hunt for good deals. They don't walk on your doorstep.
These quote wholesalers.
Yep.
That are buying houses, and they do a lot of advertising and have phone banks and all that sort of thing, call all around. They'll send you a deal that says, look, you can buy this house. The ARV, the retail value, it's $280,000.
Yep.
You can buy it from us for $150,000, and the repairs are $50,000. You can sell it for $80,000, and by the time you come out, you'll make $30,000 profit. When you really bore down to it, it's like the 2-minute warning in football. It's a lie. First of all, it's true. First of all, the ABR, the evaluation they give you, very top of market. I'm talking about stuff in tip-top shape.
Yep.
And so it may be worth, where they're saying 280, it may be worth 260 truly.
Yep.
Also, they say the repairs are $40,000 or $50,000. Truly, they're like $65,000 or $70,000.
Yep.
So, and they get these novice investors to believe all this BS, and they buy these houses, and they make $5,000 off them, or can't sell them quick or whatever, and it's too much work and everything, and they get bored with it. Run your numbers yourself. Don't believe what a realtor's telling you. Call another realtor and say, I want to know if I put this in this house, what it'll sell for within 30 days. Not 6 months or a year on the market to find that kind of one buyer that wants that particular house. Whatever repairs they're telling you about, look at those closely, because I don't believe in fact, I've seen a lot of them. I used to buy a house from them. I just quit buying them because all their numbers are just a joke.
Yep. Yeah, I would say 9 times out of 10, the wholesale deals that I see are just, I laugh at them. I'm like, there's just, you don't even know your market. So maybe can you talk to those people right now that are listening that are wholesalers or they're trying to be wholesalers? How can they get better at getting those numbers correct?
Get your numbers right.
Yeah, how do they do that?
Be honest with you. I mean, instead of telling people you're going to make $35,000 on this house, tell them you're going to make $10,000. But you're right, Brandon. In Dallas, and I think it's around the country, affordable housing is short supply everywhere.
Yeah.
So there is not many flip houses around that are worth a damn. It's hard to find you. That's why you got to dig them out.
Yep.
They really are hard as hell to find. I know investors, and I know people that make what they call predatory lending money. Where they loan investors 12, 15%.
The hard money
5
lenders.
points.
Yep.
Yeah, they can't find enough buyers for them right now. There's too many. There's not enough product on the market, and that I'm sure that's way in Colorado. In fact, in Denver and the surrounding areas, the market's on fire like it is in Dallas. So it's hard to find deals, but they're out there. You just got to find them. But look for ones, honest to God, that need a lot of repairs. I'd rather buy a house that need $50,000 worth of work than one would need a paint job.
Yeah, the more work that a project needs, the fewer people are interested. Also, there's like the law of like we should make a law for this. Like the law of smelly houses. Like the more smelly it is, the fewer people want to buy it. Like I love buying smelly houses because everyone's afraid of them. But usually it's usually a paint job or replacing the carpet.
I just think that the wholesalers, you want to call them, the people that are flipping these houses for $3,000 to $5,000 or $10,000, you really don't know what they're making on them. They're making pretty good money to do what they're doing. But I just don't believe a lot of the stuff they do, at least in Dallas. I can't tell you about what's going on in Colorado, but here they're giving the high sale, the lowest repair deal, and it's somewhere in between is the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. You said it best a minute ago. You always have to do your own numbers. Like, don't trust your agent to do them. Don't trust the wholesaler to do it. Don't trust the turnkey company or your mom to do it. Don't trust Mindy to do it. Or don't trust Mike or Brandon, right? Like, do your own math. Like, everybody, I don't know. People want to take the easy way out, and they just want somebody to give them a nice deal on a plate. And then
that's that book I was telling you about. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
This isn't going to happen. And another thing I find investors, they really don't know much about financing these houses. I know that a lot of people in Dallas go to these predatory lenders like you're talking about that charge 12, 13, 14%, 4 or 5 points, and they're easy to deal with. You have to go through a lot of application. They're just looking at loan to value, what you're putting down on it, and that sort of thing. They're making a loan based on that.
Yep.
When the reality of it is, if you're paying someone, let's say 12 or 13% and 4 or 5 points, and that note's only good for 6 months, and they renew it every 6 months for 1 point, which is what they typically do in Dallas, then they're making as much money as you are.
Yep.
And so a lot of these investors, if you got good credit and a viable income, in other words, you report some taxes. And most investors that are buying and selling houses don't report anything for income, and their credit's always screwed up. I never have figured that out, but this is the way it is. But for the ones out there that have good credit, that have a job, why go to a hard money lender? Go to a bank. I mean, go to a local bank. You can borrow money for 15, 20% down at maybe rate 5.5% with 1 point. Why would you pay somebody like that? Because you're just damn lazy, I guess. I don't know why that is. I'm serious. And they're intimidated by going to a bank for whatever reason. I'm not at all. I can tell you that I have substantial lines of credit to do real estate loans, a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly looking at new banks, and I don't deal with the major banks. I don't deal with Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, any of the big ones. Not because I don't like them. I think they're great banks. I have no problem with them. But you're just a name and number there. Yep. And a small local bank is generally invest more in the community. They're more personalized. So go to a bank, and you'd be surprised when one bank tells you no. That doesn't mean another bank's going to tell you no, because banks have what they call buckets. For example, if you go to a local bank in Denver, let's say, and they may have 20% of their total assets in spec homes, build jobs, another 20% in business loans, another 20% in car loans, another 20% in home improvement loans. Well, the government doesn't want you to have your bucket all filled with a certain type of loan. They think there's too much risk. So Bank A may have their bucket full of real estate loans, and they don't want to make them, so they say, we're not doing that right now. Bank B may not have their bucket full, so don't give up. It's just constant follow-up, communication, picking up the phone, going to see them personally. Emailing is fine and dandy, but I don't do it. Trust me, if I needed money today, there's probably 25 new banks within 2 miles of my office right now. You know what I'd do if I couldn't find a bank to make me a loan? I'd go to all 25 of those, damn one of them, and I guarantee that I'd walk out with 2 or 3 of them saying, I want to make you a loan.
Yep.
I promise you that would happen.
You know, we get that pattern on the podcast here all the time. We've been doing 250 of these shows now, over 250 of them, and I probably heard that like dozens of times about if your bank turns you down, just go to the next one and then go to the next one, and that it works. Like it clearly works. It's just people are like, no, the bank said no. It really
does.
Yeah.
And I'm not bragging. I've got pretty strong financial savings and good income and good credit, and I don't go to a bank and try to borrow money if I think it's a bad deal.
Yeah.
But they may think it's a bad deal for whatever reason. They may. I mean, I had banks turn down loan because they made a loan on the street 19 years ago and it went in bankruptcy. a house. I go, what the hell does that have to do with today? Well, I remember, I go, okay, I'm out of here. I'm just saying that don't give up. It's that same thing I was talking about, perseverance and going after something you want. And if you want it bad enough, I don't care if 5 banks tell me no. The first 5 banks I go into, I'm not giving up. I will say this. If I wanted the job today, I'd go down there and talk to him in person. The first thing I'd say, I need your help. I want this job. I'll work my butt off. I'm honest. I'll be your hardest worker. In fact, I'll work here for free for a week if you'll hire me and give me a shot. Now, how many people think aren't going to take off on that? Instead of coming in, I sent a resume. And if you ever read a resume, if you ever seen a resume say, I'm a turd, I'm not going to work hard, I'm going to screw you over. They all say the same thing. I'm the greatest thing. It's a joke.
That's how Scott got his job here, Brandon.
Scott wrote, I'm a big turd right on the
No.
Give me an educated worker, but give me a worker over education. I'll take a worker every time over somebody who's got an education doesn't want to work.
Well, Mike, I'm guessing
hands down.
You've probably hired a lot of people in your day. I'm assuming, like over the last 50 some years of investing. Do you have any tips on? How do you find that good person? This is something I struggle with. Is how do I find? Everyone sounds good, right? Luck, yeah.
Well, let's talk about Cody, one of my assistants who's doing real well. He came to work with me 5 years ago. And one of the things I looked at when he came here, because he went to work for $10 an hour, and trust me, he's making lots of money right now. Just bought a $400,000 home, about to get married. Great life, money in the bank, good credit, a good kid. But one thing Cody likes is to make money, and he doesn't mind working for it. So I look for that trait. But the one trait I look at if I'm looking at a college graduate, did they work through college? Did they have a damn part-time job, or they just go to school and never work a day in their life? So I would prefer somebody that went to a less expensive college that actually had to work and knows what work is all about than hire somebody with a degree that never has a clue what work's all about.
I've never heard that in my life, but I love that. I love that tip.
I really love that.
Yeah.
The world's richest guy told me one time, a guy named W.L. Moody out of Galveston. He and a guy named J. Paul Getty were rich guys, and he wanted me to go to work for his insurance company. I wouldn't do it. I said I want to do my own deal. Plus, I didn't believe in insurance. And he said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to own my own business. So for something like 65 years, I've owned my own business or run my own company. I couldn't work for anybody. They'd fire me in a New York minute. They would. I go, what do you mean we can't buy a computer? We need a computer. Well, we need to send it up for acquisition. We're going to take bids on it, and we'll get you a computer in 3 or 4 weeks. I go, y'all are nuts.
Yep.
Nuts. So I believe in moving swiftly and taking action. I think you should hire smart, but you should. If an employee's not working for you, get rid of them quick.
Yeah.
Brandon, come on, y'all know, and Mindy, you don't know in 2 weeks' time if they're going to work out or not. You just know it.
Yeah, that's true.
If they're not working out, just let them go and say, look, we think you're better off somewhere else. You're just not a fit for us. I thank you for coming to work for us, but we just need a split company, and let them go.
Yeah.
Brandon, after this show, we're going to have a talk.
We're going to have a conversation. Okay, good.
It's common sense. But the world's richest guy told me there's 3 things about that you had that make a success. He would never hire a good loser. He would never hire somebody that didn't believe in God. He would never hire anybody that didn't have a big sex drive. And I'll explain those.
Oh, that came out of nowhere.
Okay, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I'm talking about the world's richest guy. And I said, explain to me what every one of me said, Mike, if you ever deal with a loser that doesn't mind losing, he's a loser, don't hire him, particularly in executive position. He said, if you don't believe in God, he said, it doesn't have to be the God you believe in. It has to be some superior being of some sort. It could be the sun, the moon, it could be the earth, it could be any kind of God. But people have to find something to fall back on in times of peril. The first thing people say when they're about to have a car wreck is thank God. They need to believe in something bigger than themselves. And the third thing is sex drive. And he said, I'm not talking about going out chasing women. Just have that drive to achieve and get what you want ahead. And he said, I call it sex drive. And he was the world's richest guy on the corporation when he died. So
he can call it what he wants.
Yeah. He couldn't talk me into coming to work for his company because I didn't like what they were doing. Although it was a legitimate business. I don't mean it that way. I just didn't see myself selling insurance.
What did you say that guy's name was? What was it?
Moody.
Okay.
Moody Foundation is bigger than the Ford Foundation. The Ford Motor Company Foundation.
Crazy.
Moody's.
ODY.
Okay.
Crazy. All right, so let's kind of sum up where we're at so far. So can you give me because we usually do at the beginning of the show, but we just kind of skipped over it. Like, what do you do in real estate today? I mean, like, what have you done the last 60 years? I mean, you've done a lot, but can you give a broad overview of the last 60 years of your real estate?
I can't answer that question. I don't know what I do. I just get swallowed. Some of it sticks. No, I'll tell you what I do in a minute. But one last thing I'm going to say about financing for investors. Go to a local bank rather than hard money lender. You may have to go to hard money lender until you get a track record. Don't let that stop you, but go to a bank. Second of all, Fannie and Freddie will only finance 10 homes for you at a time.
Yep. And
they count your homestead as one of them. They count a duplex as 2 units and a fourplex as 4 units. And so any one investor we sell off notes to is not going to take more than 3 or 4 rental properties from one customer. So you may have to find 2 or 3 mortgage companies to get up to 10. When you get up to 10 property, you can't buy them anymore no matter what you want to pay down. In fact, VA and FHA don't even make investment loans. It's only Fannie and Freddie, and they want 20% down. Generally, 25% down is going to get you a better rate of interest and better scores, and that rates are higher. So what a lot of people do when they start out in this business, they'll buy a smaller home to live in, say a $150,000 home, live in it 6 months, get it repaired or whatever they're going to do to it, rent it for enough cash flow to make the payments and cover expenses. Then they'll buy a little bigger home as an owner-occupied home. The reason you do that, quite frankly, is because the down payment's lower, anywhere from 3.5% to 5% down, instead of 20% down. The rates are lower.
Yep.
And as long as your intent is to live in that house, that's what the law says. You intend to occupy it. So moving into an occupied and then to start moving up the ladder. That's the way a lot of investors build their portfolio.
Yeah, that was
get it for less money.
Yep, that was my first few houses the same way.
That's how I did it.
Yep.
It's not illegal.
Yeah.
It really isn't illegal. So it's a ploy to make. But once you get 8 or 10 homes, then you find that people don't even want to talk to you because you got too many rental properties. So why not take those properties to a bank and bank them? I know, for example, I do a lot of investor loans here in Dallas where he had about 25 homes, 30 homes spread out with I don't know how many different investors, paying anywhere from 4.5% to 6% rate, 7% rate. And I said, you got $2 million, $3 million worth of property here just in this bundle. Why don't you go borrow $2 million on them, pay off the $1 million you want them, give you a line of credit for $1 million, and you got one loan, not 20 loans or 25 loans, and you can buy other houses down the road. So he listened to me, and I got him a $2 million line.
That's
I should maybe not said his name, so you may want to admit that. But in any event, then seriously, and here's what it did for him. He found a house, because you and I both know, Mandy, you know, and Brandon, you know, that when you're buying a house, the quicker you can close it, and if you can pay cash for it, the better deal you're going to get. So he had an open line of credit where he could go to Las Vegas and write a check if he wanted to, because he had collateral behind the note. And Tim was a pretty strong investor, so we got him a $2 million line or whatever that line was, and he had available $1 million. So if he wanted to buy a house, he could say, as soon as you get the title in 2 days' time, I'll write a check for it.
Yep.
It made a big difference in what he could buy. So if you've got that many houses, you want to continue buying them, take them to a bank. If they're cash flowing and make any sense, a bank will finance all 10 of them, put them on one note. You're not going to get as good a rate as long-term 30-year fixed note, but you'll get a rate, and they'll give you, a lot of times they'll give you money, excess money, and they might own you 75 to 80% of the appraised value, particularly if they're cash flowing. So you may have $2 million worth of real estate, or $1 million, or $500,000, and maybe get another $100,000, go ahead and put it in another property. So
interesting. Yeah, you know, on that note, this gets a little bit into the weeds a little bit, but I learned something interesting. So I'm working through a refinance right now, trying to get a conventional loan, and they only let you have 10, and so 10 residential. So I was working things, selling some properties out. But anyway, in that process, because I really wanted to get a conventional on these last couple single families that I was trying to refi. Anyway, so I learned that and again, I'm not a lender person, so if you're listening to this, don't take this as gospel truth, but this is what I learned and what I read, is that they don't count it as one of your 10 if it is a loan to your LLC, and it's a commercial loan to your to an LLC that owns the property versus your own. So what I did is I went to my lender, and I turned that loan into a commercial loan to my LLC, basically. And
that was through a bank.
It was actually through a private lender, and so originally it was through my own name.
Okay, yeah, you can do that because lenders,
correct,
quite frankly, on investment property would rather make it to an LLC.
Yes,
and for a lot of reasons. First of all, it doesn't they your homestead, and homesteads in a lot of states are hard to foreclose. Yep. They'd rather make a loan on commercial property, and because the Dodd-Frank Act doesn't say you have to make income to qualify for an investment property. It's only the ability to repay has to be for your homestead or second home. So you could, no matter what you're doing on a rental property, they don't have to verify your income. But that's the sort of thing. Fannie and Freddie won't do LLCs anymore, family trusts anymore, limited partnerships. Now, what people do if they want to buy a house like that, put in an LLC or a family trust later on down the road, they buy it, finance it under Fannie or Freddie, as long as they're not over 10 properties. Then they'll deed it to their LLC or their company, the trust or whatever, 3 weeks later. And the notes are due on sale, but I've never seen one called. I've been doing this for a long time. As long as you're paying the mortgage, they don't care what name it's in. But
okay, I was going to ask about that because that is also another topic that comes up frequently in the forums is I want to buy this and I can't get it financed through my own self or through my LLC. So I want to buy it as myself and then transfer it over. And there's a lot of discussion about are they going to call the note due or not?
Well, let me ask you a question, Mindy.
Yes.
Let's say that the speed limit in your area is 35 miles an hour.
Yes, I would never, ever go above the speed limit, Mike.
I know that. But if you were going 35.1, what's a possibility of you getting a ticket and going to jail?
Probably 0%.
There you have
Well, if they pull me over.
Because all these notes, well, no, they're not going to do that. Seriously. All these notes.
I don't know. Have you seen Mindy's car? It's
the notes will say if you transfer a title, the notes due in full. However, I've been doing this for 35 years and I've never seen it happen. The lenders don't give a damn. It's a big misnomer. A lot of people say they just want to foreclose that to make the money. That's BS. I've never known a lender in my lifetime want to foreclose a piece of property that would rather get paid on it than foreclose it. You know, so the chances of them ever saying anything if you transferred it to LLC, all right, is almost nil that they're going to say anything. If they do, just write and say, look, it's in my family trust. I'm on the note. I'm personally liable on the note. And I think it's risk free. There is risk in it. It's like the same example I gave you going 35.1 in a 30-mile, 5-an-hour zone. You could get a ticket. You could go to jail. But the odds of that happening are 1 in a trillion. I don't know what they are. But astronomical.
You know, I've only heard of one investor ever, and it was on a larger multifamily where he deeded it something, transferred it something different. He got a letter from the bank, and he just went and transferred it back, and they were like, okay, no problem. But it was like a bigger transaction that I think they wanted him to force him to refinance with them or something. Anyway, that was the only time I've ever heard of it. But I do that. I transfer my properties, and again, I'm not giving legal or tax advice here, but I typically will buy my personal name, and I will then transfer it into my LLC.
Well, technically, you're not supposed to do it, but technically, you're not supposed to go 35.
Exactly. Yep.
So what the hell?
Yep, I do it, and I also
let me put it this way: I take the risk.
I do too.
I've done it
well, so I take the risk. I also make sure that I have equity. Like I always look at it this way: if ever the worst thing happened and the bank did freak out about it, I've got equity in every property that I buy because I like to buy good deals. I buy fixer uppers, just like you mentioned earlier, so that if ever the worst case scenario happened and the bank freaked out about it. And, at least I can fall back on, okay, well, I could sell it if I had to or refinance it or go to a private lender or go to a hard money lender or go to a credit, line. I've got options, Equity gives you options.
See, and that's another thing that has to be about mortgage companies. Most mortgage companies don't have all the outlets, and they're hard to find. Yeah. But unless you fit in a little box, they don't want to screw with it. If your credit score is not so-and-so, if the LTV is not so-and-so. And I'm saying there's a seat for every butt, so... There are insurance companies that carry those notes. There are all kind of companies that carry those notes. The rates may be a little higher. They may be 6.5% as versus 4.5% or 5%. But it all depends on what you're trying to do. I would always tell your people out there listening to this podcast to get the best rate with the least amount of cost you can. But if that doesn't work, go to Plan B. It may not be the best rate, but at least you're getting in a property that you wouldn't otherwise have unless you go to alternative financing.
Yeah.
That's why I think.
Go ahead.
That you need to have a mortgage company. Any mortgage company that has more than one outlet per product. Ask your loan officer, can you go to a bank if I can't get this done? Can you make a loan to an LLC if I can't get this done? Do you sell off paper to insurance companies? If not, they can call me on the phone. I'll tell you, insurance companies buy stuff nationwide at a reasonable rate.
Yep. So Mike, you own a mortgage company or do own a mortgage company, correct? Is that what?
I do.
Okay. So you do the mortgages. You also did real estate investing. At one point, didn't you say earlier you were buying you were up to 200 houses a month or something crazy like that?
Yeah, but you couldn't replicate that today. That's sure. Because back then, the homes I bought average cost was $8,000. The average value was $16,000 or $17,000. The average repairs were paint and carpet. And HUD was big back on Venetian blinds back then and gutters. So you could actually repair a house like that there wasn't any big sheetrock damage or kitchen damage or that sort of thing. And that was actually before built-ins, though there wasn't any appliances to be replaced. You could repair a house like that in actually 2 or 3 days. They're about 1,300 square feet. And FHA would take anybody that wanted to buy them. They were all for FHA foreclosures. So they had a deal where you could get them for $100 down. So when I first started buying those houses, I'll tell you another story that's kind of interesting.
Sure.
I'd been buying and selling maybe 5, 6 houses a month. And HUD came out with a program called PPOP, Public Program Package Offering, all over the country. And they put anywhere from 10 to 15 houses in the same area together. And they had a minimum bid you could bid on these properties. And let's say the minimum bid was $80,000 for 10 properties. Then you bid the minimum bid at a public auction, and anything you bid over those values, you had to put up in cash. So in other words, if a package was $80,000 and you bid $85,000, you had to take a cashier's check the next day to HUD for $5,000 for what you bid over. They'd carry the notes up to $100,000 for 6 months with no interest.
Wow.
And you had to do repairs out of pocket. So the average repairs on these houses was about $2,000. HUD would let you make 5% commission. They would let you make 20% on the repairs. And that's about it. So they thought that you could make $2,000 or $3,000 a home. I could make $4,000 a home by selling them myself because I had a real estate company. I could also do the repairs quicker and faster than they could, get them done. Because I had a bunch of sub crews, maybe 15 crews work for me. That's all they did. I bought carpet 50,000 yards at a time and had it in the warehouse, and I used the same carpet over and over and over again.
Yep.
You saw one in my house, you saw one, you saw them all. They're all the same.
Same.
Well, it's true. It was a massive deal. So, I had a lot of experience in auctions. When I was in high school, I bought a lot of furniture and antiques and stuff like that. And so I knew about how to get caught up in auction and bidding and that BS, and I would never get dragged into that thing. So for the first 4 or 5 months, I went down in the auction every Tuesday morning, and there would be 300 people in this room bidding on maybe 150 homes, 200 homes. And the bidding went way too high. They couldn't make any money. I kept on thinking, man, these people are either stupid or dumb or what the hell I don't know what's going on here. Because they'd bid $20,000, $30,000 more, which the profit may have been $35,000. Who wants to do all that work for $5,000 profit? So I never bought any the first 4 or 5 months. I went down there one day, and the room was crowded, standing room only, at least 300 people there. And there were 14 houses came up in Louisville, Texas on the market. And I had looked at them because it was totally out of my territory. And nobody bid on them. There was $86,000 for 14 houses. So I asked these 2 guys back. I said, "Did anyone else see them?" Both of them said, "Yeah, we've seen them." I go, "What's the deal with this?" They said, "Mike, they're 1.5, 2-year-old homes. 7 of them have already been completed. They've been on the market for 6, 8 months, and they can't sell." And I go, "I'll buy them and rent the damn thing." So I bid $86,000 for them, sight unseen. So after the auction, a guy named Jim Cox, I don't know if this is too late for y'all, but it's kind of a funny story. A true story. After the auction was over, Jim Cox was the property disposition manager for the Metroplex. And he said, "Mr. Sanchez wants to see you upstairs." And I said, "Who the hell is Mr. Sanchez?" He said, "He's a deputy director of 8 states for HUD. He wants to talk to you about those houses you just bought." So I go upstairs, Mr. Sanchez, and he's standing there. He's a very nice Hispanic guy. Had his act together, quite frankly. And he had these two big deputies who looked like they were football players standing by him. And he said, "Son, did you look at these houses?" And I was about 22 years old, and he was probably about 50 at the time. I said, "No, sir." And he said, "Do you know what you bought?" And I said, "No, sir." And he said, "We're going to let you out of the bid because you don't know what you're doing." I said, "Well, tell me why I don't know what I'm doing." He said, "You bought 14 houses, 7 of them have been on the market for 6, 8 months. We've totally repaired them. We've offered 10% commission and no down payment. We can't sell them because right around the corner, 3 blocks away, they're building brand new homes that are 245S homes. And they have a dishwasher where yours didn't have a dishwasher. Your 3 bedrooms got 1 bath. Those 3 bedrooms got a bath and a half. Your 4 bedrooms got 1 bath. They've got 2 full baths, and they're brand new. And they can pay them for half the interest because we subsidize interest, so you can't sell them. We put them together for the builder to buy them back. We're mad to sell it. The builder didn't come and buy them. So he said, "So we're gonna let you out."
That's awesome. They actually let you out of it.
I didn't want out.
You wanted them anyway.
I bought them.
Really?
No, I did. So I drove up there that afternoon, and fortunately, it was off a major thoroughfare, a highway, 35 north. And so you pull off the highway on Main Street, And you drive by all these huge signs and flags, and you go in these 17, 18,000 homes. They look like mansions. All the furniture's undersized. They got mirrors on the walls, doors taken off, $80,000 worth of landscape on each house. And they look like, honest to God, these houses look like $1 million homes. I mean, they were really well done by the builder. And I'd known the two salesmen up there were twins from a Catholic high school in Dallas I knew from high school. And they said, Mike, go back there and tell him you give them the house back. You can't sell them. So I said, and I was just cocky as hell. I didn't know. Well, I was going to turn them into rent houses anyway, so I didn't care one way or another. So I went and looked at them, and they were on Bluewood, Deerwood, and Clearwood, 3 blocks, and there was 14 of them. So I bought them on a Tuesday. By Sunday a week, 10 days, the other 7 homes I had painted and the yards mowed, and I had 14 of them on the market. So I put an ad in the paper that said, let's make a deal. And it was the Dallas Morning News Times. They had a map drawn up there. Instead of taking them off in Main Street, which is the best way to get there, I put them off on the exit before called Fox. And I brought them in a back way, had a map drawn up there. The open house was from 1 to 4. I got up there about 12 o'clock. There's 100 cars up there parked. Honest to God. And so I said, let me open these houses up. I had little flyers for all of them. And so I opened up these houses, sold 13 of them in an hour on that Sunday afternoon. And half of them I sold VA. So I go back to FHA. They want all these contracts turned in to FHA. So they thought it was a scam. Jim Cox called me on the phone and said, listen, you bought these houses 10 days ago. We couldn't sell them. You sold 13 of them in a week. What's the deal here? I go, I sold them. And he said, we're going to check all this stuff out because we don't believe this. So a couple of days later, he called me on the phone and said, Mike, we checked all these people out, and they're all buyers. And so Mr. Sanchez wants you to meet him. And I go, I don't want to talk to him. They said, look, he wants to know what, he just wants to meet with you. So he said he wants you to come down at 5 o'clock, and he always drank cognac in the afternoon after work, never in work. So he was sitting there having a cognac with his 2 deputies. And he said, Mike, we want to know how you sold those because we just can't believe you did that. And I said, I'm not going to tell you because I didn't know what he thought. I didn't know if he thought it was deceitful, be putting a map up there and not taking him in the main way, taking him in the back area. I didn't know what he'd think. So he just kept on hammering me away going, look, it's cool. We just want to know how you did it. And I finally said, he had a blackboard in his office. I'm trying to do it out on a blackboard. He said, my God, that's ingenious. He said, I'll get back in a couple days' time. And so instead of them thinking I was shady or something, I didn't know what they'd think. I was a kid, so a couple days later, he called me and said, I want you to come talk to me again. So he said, I called Washington Bike, and we're going to make you $1 million loan to buy homes from HUD. We're so impressed with you. No interest, 6 months' time. You can buy all you want up to $1 million, which at that time was probably 300 homes, 8,000 apiece. Figured out. I don't know.
Wow.
And I sold these houses like hotcakes. So, but that was a different time and a different era. You couldn't do that right now. I don't know anybody could do that now. But that's how I did that. But that's what I'm talking about, thinking, instead of sitting on your butt going, I can't sell these homes. What am I going to do? I don't know.
Yeah, getting
Think
creative.
outside the box.
Yeah.
That's really a common theme.
And pick up the phone and call people.
Yep.
The 11th commandment, I promise, is not thou you use an iPhone, and that's not the 11th commandment I've ever read. So, just persevere, go after it, do some work, be honest with people, don't jerk people around. Just do what you tell people you'll do.
I love that. So, Mike, do you do? Did I read somewhere that you do storage units as well?
Yes, I don't. I build right now. I'm building about 4 or 5 homes in Dallas, anywhere from a low of $1.5 million to high of $4 million. But I'm not a builder. I just put money up for them. I know the builders I'm investing with. I'm currently building 3 storage units. 2 of them will just finish. I just got a contract. In fact, it's right here for one. We just got finished in April. It's $13.5 million from CubeSmart.
Oh, wow.
All cash. Again, I don't know anything about in building that. What I like about mini warehouse, they can build a mini warehouse in 7 months' time. We're building the second biggest in the United States out on a major highway here in Dallas, right across from the new State Farm location. It's got 2,800 units in it. It's 1,100 feet long, 260,000 square feet. But I don't know about building them. I just know the guys I've invested with. I own 30 to 50% of them, depending on what money I put up. So I do that. Wow. I take notes. I carry notes for people that can't get qualified. For example, if you call me on the phone and say, listen, Mike, nobody will touch me. I've got bad credit. I was bankrupt.
That's
And
what
I
Brandon
go,
will say.
Yes.
well, so here's my deal to you, Brandon.
All right,
I'll loan
let's
you
hear it.
money with 25 to 35% down.
All right.
It's 11 to 13%, and it's 4 points. And you're going to have some skin in the game. You're going to put 25, 30, 35% equity in my deal.
Sounds like predatory lending to me.
It is. It absolutely is. But it's legal as long as you disclose it.
Yep. And if I needed it, I would pay it because
You just surprised the number of people who do
Yep,
that.
I put it into the
good
deal.
people that maybe had a hiccup in life, they had declared bankruptcy, had a foreclosure, doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means they had something bad happen to them. So I get enough equity in my property, and I'm not in the business foreclosed. I foreclosed one property in 25 years doing what I'm doing.
Wow.
I currently carry about $18 million worth of notes. They pay like a slot machine.
Wow.
But they have real equity in the property.
Yep.
And I as long as I disclose to them, and Brandon, you probably wouldn't be this, but have somebody call me tomorrow and just say they're looking for hard money loan in Texas. First thing I tell you, you don't want this loan. It's a bad loan. I'd say it's like having a baby. It's an ugly baby. If you want, I can get you a baby. It's going to be ugly. Well, how do you clean up 12% and 4 points? Is a good deal.
Yeah.
You tell me how I'm going to tell somebody that.
You're right.
It's a great deal for the lender.
It is a great deal for the lender.
Well, it is. But I take the risk on them.
Yep.
Where other lenders won't take the risk. Because I can tell you the essence of lending is loan to value. I'd rather loan a guy that robs 7-Eleven for a living, 50% loan to value on a piece of property than loan a guy that works for American Airlines with 3% down and could lose his job tomorrow, and you're underwater on that damn property. Give me a break.
Yeah.
So I do pure equity lending and the ability to repay it.
Well, my very first loan I ever did is when I was 21 years old or maybe 20. Like I wanted to buy a house to flip and I had no money, no credit, I was making $8 an hour. So I went and found a hard money lender and I paid 10 points. So 10%, like a fee of 10 points. 10 points and 10% interest. So it was a little lower interest, way higher fees. And it was crazy, but I got the deal done. It was insane. I would never put 10 points.
Texas, before they changed the usury laws, when rates were 14 or 15% nationwide, I've actually done FHA loans when I owned a mortgage company at 17%.
Oh, wow.
The discount points to make a loan in Texas on FHA were 17 points.
Wow.
The discount points?
FHA was paying 17 points because they couldn't charge more than 10% in Texas until they changed the usury law.
Oh, wow.
In other words, lenders were going to make it up in points to make up the yield.
Yep.
Why would you loan money in Texas at 10% when you can loan money in New Mexico or Oklahoma at 15%? So they charge points to make up the yield spread, so they were the same. So I've seen all that sort of thing. And I will say this, too, for everybody to think, well, God, I'd rather pay 5%. BS, that's not true. Let me tell you something. When people were, this is an absolute fact, when rates were 12 to 15%, probably was going up 25 to 30% a year all over the country. Now rates are 4.5% to 5%. They go up maybe 4 or 5% all over the country. So would you rather have the property going up? Would you rather pay twice the interest and have the property triple in value, or have a lower interest rate and go up a little bit? It's all relatives. All I'm saying.
That makes sense. So that actually brings up an interesting point. You've been in this game a long time. You've seen a lot of boom and bust cycles, like going up and down over the years.
I've been involved in media.
So where do you feel we are right now? Like, where do you see ourselves now, and what what do you expect for the future?
I'm concerned about it. And trust me, this is not what I've read in the book or anything. It's just my own observation. I personally think the government's spending way too much money. I think that people, that average American doesn't give a damn about it because they hadn't hit them in the butt yet.
Yep.
But it will. All you have to do is look at Greece and Italy and France. What's happening over there? It's a blueprint of what's going to happen here. You can't keep on spending money. More people are paying no taxes. 50% of the United States doesn't pay any tax now, and they actually get a tax rebate on earned income. I think the world is so unstable right now all over the world. There's riots everywhere, food shortages, repressive governments, religious battles going all over Hell's Half Acre. I think the immigration around the world is that there's way too much of that stuff going on. I think that the economy's pretty strong, but I don't really trust it a whole lot. I don't know. I think the economy's going to hold for the next 2 years. I don't know after that, but it just scares me to see the amount of college debt we have, and people don't want to pay it back. It scares me that Congress doesn't have a clue what the hell they're doing. They don't mind spending. They don't.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's really hard to argue with that statement.
I mean, they couldn't run a damn thing. They can't run the government. I mean, and it's not just Democrats, it's Republicans, it's all of them. They don't give a damn about the country, in my opinion. All they care about is getting reelected, in my opinion.
Preach. Yes, so true.
There are some good ones up there. It's like student loans. If y'all want to get on something else, I don't believe in student loans. I believe they should make student loans, but not the way they make them. I think that if you're getting a student loan, look, let's face it, these college students go to school 12 to 15 hours a week.
Yep.
It's not exactly a big load. So if they want a student loan, here's the deal. You have to make your grades. In other words, if you flunk for one semester, you're not getting a student loan the next semester until you bring your grades up. Second of all, if you want a loan from the government and you're taking 12 hours, you're going to have to do 12 hours worth of work, either get a job, a part-time job for 12 hours. If you can't find a job, you're going down to school and you're going to go to libraries, you're going to go to hospitals, you're going to go to grade schools, high schools, and teach kids how to read. So if you take 12 hours, you're going to work 12 hours. If you can't find a job, we're going to put you to work.
You know, it's funny, when I went to college, the average was like 12 to 15 credits people would take per semester. I took 25 to 28 every semester, worked a full-time job 40 hours a week, and donated plasma for gas money. Like, because I had to.
You had more fun.
It was a good experience. Like
the same thing. I took 15 hours a semester and I worked the whole time through. I went through Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 in the morning till 12, and never spent a day at college. I commuted to North Texas State University, and I had more money in my pocket. I worked and made money, and I was a little hustler. I mean, I loved it. I loved the action, but no, I don't think there's any free rides in the world, and I think they're making it too easy for students to get those loans. They don't ever intend to pay them back, and I think they're burdening students unfairly with debt. I think a lot of these students who've never worked a day in life, they have no clue what they're getting. A lot of them are getting worthless degrees.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah,
that's my degree's in fashion design.
Is it really?
You want to talk about the most worthless degree on the planet?
Well, it's good. You can make a lot of money doing that.
Well.
Mine was in history.
Not good. That sounded condescending, but that's not the way it was said.
No, I didn't take it that way. There's like 9 famous fashion designers, and the schools are filled with students, and they're getting student loans, and they're racking up all this debt.
Yep.
And there's no jobs in the fashion industry. Not to be a fashion designer.
See, why don't people tell the kids that? Do the kids even care? That's what I wonder about.
I don't know. I think they get this in their head that they're going to be famous and they're going to be amazing.
Well, and I think they're hearing from
my kids.
Yeah, well, I think they're hearing from their parents, right? So our parents' generation, or like your generation, Mike, like if you went to college, it usually guaranteed a pretty good job because not many people went to college. So now, when I was growing up, my dad's like, "You have to go to college. You have no choice." So I went to college, right? But that's different today. Like I feel like you don't. Like just because you go to college doesn't guarantee you a job, but kids are trained that way from their parents who believe that. And so I think it's going to be the next generation that's going to be like I'm not going to tell my daughter to go to college. Like Rosie, if she wants to go to college, great. You know, her real estate's going to pay for it. I've already bought her a property that'll pay for it. But like, I hope she doesn't in a way. Like, I hope she comes up with something else instead, like an entrepreneur idea or something, you know? I don't know.
Well, in my particular scenario, I got a marketing degree, but it was worthless what I do.
Yeah.
I could be doing just what I'm. And in fact, I did waste time in college. I wouldn't say that, but if I had my choice to do it over again, I'd rather spend the time in production. And trust me, you know, I'm successful, but I've had my ups and downs. I've been busted lots of times in my lifetime. I've always paid the banks back and paid people back, but it takes a lot of luck, a lot of timing, and that sort of thing. So, but you know, it never bothered me if I lost whatever money I accumulated. I had to start over again. That has had that ability in myself to know I could always make it, no matter what. Yeah, I actually think you could open up, say, look, Mike, come up here to Colorado and open a snow cone stand. I guarantee it. Within 2 weeks' time, there'd be a line at that damn snow cone stand. I don't know what I'd do to make it, but I'd make it work. That's just the way I am.
Yep, I agree. I think there's certain like people that are going to be successful no matter what, and I don't know, Mike. Man, we could talk forever, but we're at an hour, so I'm going to start transitioning us over to the next segment of our show, which we lovingly refer to as our fire round.
Fire round.
It's time for the fire round.
Fire round are questions that our community have asked in the forums. People are asking for help, and so these are just kind of specific questions that we pull from our community. Number 1 of the fire round. Let's see. How about this one? I'm new to real estate investing and I'm wanting to be an unseen owner, meaning I'll be working with a real estate team to find and purchase properties, but I want to turn over the management to somebody else. Is it worth it or doing it? Do I have to manage my properties or can I have a company do it?
I would say it depends on the individual. I do think management companies have a big place in the managing properties, and they have more facilities. That, for example, they have their ability to run credit on people who want to buy it. They handle all the problems. But if I were starting out with new, I don't think I'd let a management company have it because it's too expensive. Most management companies want 8 to 10%.
Yeah.
And it's too much to give up if you're starting out, if you're a newbie in it. If you're a seasoned pro and you can afford it, you got the cash flow, it's okay because it's a lot less hassle, I can tell you that. But I think if I were starting out, I would probably manage my own properties, and for a couple of reasons. Not only because I couldn't afford the money, the cost of management, but the other reason I'd want to find out what the hell's going on in the real world. It's like I said a while ago, going to boot camp where they're shooting blanks at you and going to war where they're shooting real bullets is a whole lot different. So I'd rather have the experience of managing 2 or 3 properties and then maybe turn them over to management company myself.
Yep.
So a couple of weeks ago, we had a podcast guest who said something like, do it once, do everything at least once. Gabe De Silva from episode 259, 258?
8, I think.
We're on 259.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Or maybe that was last week.
I think that's a good idea. At least have some experience in it. And that way if they're jiving you or not jiving you. It's not – I like management companies. I used to own a big one. But from my perspective, I'd learn from the ground up. I agree. I agree with Mr. De Silva.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I do too.
Right, next one.
Okay. My question for you all is, if there's a way for me to get started with little money to invest, can anyone who has done this give any insight for me? I have read several forums and books on the subject. However, I am a little apprehensive about getting started with little money invested. I just feel like I would be constantly turned down. How can I combat this feeling?
That is a tough question because generally speaking, you're going to have to put some money in to make money. However, there are other avenues. And one of the things that Brandon and I were talking about earlier is hard money lending when he got started where he paid 10 points.
Yeah.
And he may have not liked it, but it was a way to get started. So a lot of these investment companies that are making these hard money loans charge a higher rate and more points, but they'll do a deal where it's based on the loan to value and based on the repairs you're doing. So you may be able to get in one of those for 5 or 10%. Brandon, what's it typically cost to do these days? I don't know.
For
predatory lending.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of
you
like
can actually buy a house with no money in it. Correct.
You probably could with the right lender, but most of them I always see they want a little bit into the game, at least 10%.
Yeah, 5 or 10%? Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are lenders here in Dallas. I don't know about Colorado or where you are, Mindy, but they actually will loan you 100% if there's enough equity in the property. They think the repairs can be handled.
Yeah.
And that's the way to get done. It's an expensive way to go, but it's the way to get started.
Yep.
And
yeah,
but if it were me, I'd look to put more money down, save enough money to put it down, and we can really start getting better rates of interest. Because I think people paying predatory lending give the predatory lenders a third to half of their profit. Is what I think.
Yeah, there's been there's been several flips that I've done where at the end of the flip I look at it and go, I made less money than my lender did, and I'm like, I'm in the wrong business.
that's my issue with. Yep. Although that was my only alternative.
Yep.
I would take it.
Yep. I always say like 50% of a great deal is still better than 100% of no deal, right?
No deal.
Like, I'd rather give somebody else. Yeah, that's why I look at partnerships.
And
I
you
look
learn.
at all that stuff. Yep, and you learn.
And Brandon, you learn from it.
Yep. Yeah, I don't regret the 10 points I paid on those deals. I mean, like, or on the first couple deals I did, because whatever, I learned. I gained like the first few deals. I always say this too, and this sounds bad, but like the first few deals you do don't really matter. Like you don't want to like lose money on them and go bankrupt, but like generally speaking, nobody's getting rich off 1 or 2 deals. It's the lessons you learn on those early deals that get you to deal number 4 and 5, which gets you to deal 20, which gets you to deal 100, and that's how you build a lifetime of success. Is learning.
In all the homes I've ever done in my lifetime, I don't think, and I've done homes up to flip homes, maybe up to $1 million. I don't think I've ever made more than $100,000 on any home.
Yeah.
And even the bigger homes, I probably made, if I was lucky, to make $50,000, $60,000 on it. It was a lot bigger risk. There's just not the home runs people think there are, that these books say there are. I don't see them. I mean, my deals were quick in, quick out, and maybe $4,000 or $5,000 profit. Now we're talking a long time ago, so it'd be the equivalent of maybe $10,000, $12,000 a day or $15,000 a day. But my deal was in and out quick and turn them.
Yep.
I'd rather own a McDonald's hamburger hamburger place that's turning out 5,000 hamburgers a day than own a $12 that's turning out 300 hamburgers a day. The money's where the volume is, and that's kind of always what I believed in.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, my average flips are like 15 grand, 20 grand. Like I feel pretty good if I make 20 grand. We interviewed a guy, last week. He's doing a different, like he's basically building. He's tearing off the tops, putting on new levels, doubling the square footage, and now he's making 100 grand. But that's a whole different business model. That's it's basically
that's something we didn't talk about. But if you got the money, that's a good way to start. Go in a neighborhood that's hot, and find a little home that you can add 1,000 square foot to it.
Yeah.
And use maybe the same footprint and just take it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know people are doing that, and they're making more money than flip people. And you're right. In certain areas in Dallas, they take these houses and maybe spend $150,000 on remodeling and make $100,000.
Yep.
On the.
Yep. That's exactly what last week's episode was on. Exactly that. It's good money in it.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that, but what you just said is very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've done that. I live in my flips, so I'm not paying any taxes on it because I lived there for 2 years. I'm avoiding my capital. What is it? Deferring capital gains?
No, you're avoiding. Yeah.
Avoiding it. Tax avoidance.
Saying F you to the government.
Well, no, as long as you live there 2 years and you don't make more than $250,000, you're married, you can make up to $500,000 on it.
Yep. And I've never made $500,000, but we've made $100,000 a couple of times.
That's awesome. But see, you can do a 1031
But I'm living in it.
Yeah, but you can do a 1031 tax-free exchange on that too.
Not if you're living in it. I'm doing the Section 121. No, to be a 1031, you have to have purchased it with the intention of making it an investment.
Oh, look at you, Mindy.
And but wait a second. Would a live-in flip be an investment?
I don't know.
It's also my primary residence. I don't know. Either way, I think the 121 is better than the 1031 because then I'm just completely not paying taxes at all.
Yeah, all you're doing is 1031 is deferring taxes. You're not avoiding them. You're just deferring them.
Yeah. I'd rather avoid them than defer them.
Good point.
Yeah, I'm doing my first 1031 right now, and it's fun. It's good. I got my properties.
Tell Mike how far in advance you got that property under contract, Brandon.
Like 4 hours. You know how they give you 45 days? I got my property 4 hours before my deadline.
You have to nominate 45 days.
Yeah, nominate. Yeah, so I nominated 4 hours before. I got it under contract 4 hours before the deadline. So I made it, but I went down to the wire.
Did you overpay to make the deadline though?
I did not overpay. I actually think I got a pretty good deal.
Good for you.
But
good for you.
That's the danger of a 1031 is it's very easy to overpay because you're scared and you're
because you're trying to get the money out of the 1031 exchange and you only got they have 60 days to close or 9 days to close after the 45 day nomination.
Yeah, it's a bunch. I think might even be 180 days total. I can't remember.
I don't remember. I think it's 180 days total.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't remember. I've done them for a long time. Yeah. All right, what's your next question?
All right, number 3. I'm scared and I'm in paralysis by analysis. I can't seem to pull the trigger. What can help me move forward?
Load the gun with real bullets.
Can you
I mean, who in the hell can answer a question like that? If you're scared, you don't need to be in this game. Because this is not, it doesn't take a lot of guts, but it takes a little bravery at times and a little leap of faith. And if you're really concerned that much, I'd stay out of it. I really would.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
Yeah, I don't think
that's a really good point.
If you're too afraid to do it, then don't do it. There's lots of ways to make money in the world.
Are you afraid?
It's like if you're worried about everything, eliminate the things that worry you. I don't know what because I don't look. You probably don't believe this about me. If this boss were on fire right now, we'd finish this conversation. I'd walk out and I wouldn't run out here.
I totally believe that.
Screw it. I mean, what the hell?
You don't strike me as a guy who is afraid very often, Mike. I don't know. You don't.
Well, I don't. I lose my share. Look, I do a lot of different. I do 4 or 5 major deals a month, and I hit on most of them. But the ones I lose on, I lose. I can lose a substantial amount of money. But it doesn't bother me because it's the nature of the beast. So if I played the game, you can't play with scared money. You really can't. It's like playing poker or anything you play with. If you're playing with scared money, you're scared to lose it. You shouldn't be playing the game. So
very good.
I've never been scared to do anything in my life, and I've never gone into a deal that I thought was going to be bad or I wouldn't have gone into it. But I've been in plenty of deals that went bad because I didn't do my homework. I was in bed with crooks or missed a market or just plain stupid. I don't know which of the 4, but it was fall in some of those categories.
There you go. All right, Mindy, last one of the fire round. You take it.
Okay, Mike, are there any rules of thumb you use to determine if you should buy a property?
Well, if it makes sense and you got the money and can get the financing, why wouldn't you buy it? It's got to make sense.
how does it make sense?
Well, it has to make a profit, either cash flow, appreciation, or flipping the house and making a profit.
Is there a number? Is there a number that you would like? You want to make this much cash flow or this much profit? Like, is there minimums that you have in your head?
On rental property, no, it's not. I bought some houses that were in better neighborhoods that actually lost money on rental, but I made it up on appreciation because I'd rather have a house. It goes up 10 or 12% a year, and so you pay $300,000 for it. It's going up $35,000, $40,000 a year. So you hold it and lose, say $5,000 cash flow. You still got a $75,000 to $80,000 cushion it to sell it. That doesn't mean that's what you're going to make from it because you got expenses and all that crap. You got to pay realtors. But and then from a cash flow point of view, if I were going purely for cash flow, I'd buy less expensive homes because they rent for a lot more dollars than you can get for more expensive homes. But there's what we're talking about earlier in the show. You've got to define what your goals are. If your goals are appreciation and retirement, it's one thing you're doing. If they're cash flow, it's another thing you're doing because you're buying a totally different type of property if it's for retirement and getting them paid off quick as versus cash flow where you're looking for cash to live on or to reinvest and that sort of thing. That demands, and that's why I say starting out with a goal, if you're an obvious investor, is imperative you sit down and figure out what your goal is. You can't, for example, you can't go for appreciation, you can't go for rental income, and you can't go for flips all at the same time. You need to narrow your field, what you're going to specialize in, and do it well. I'm not saying you can't do all three of them because I've done all three of them, but it's not easy to do. So just define what you're trying to do, in my opinion.
I like it. All right, moving on to the last segment of the show, which we lovingly refer to as our Famous Four. All right, these are the same 4 questions we ask every guest every week, and we're going to throw them at you. Number 1, Mike, what is your favorite real estate-related book, if you have one?
I don't have one.
All right. What about your
I don't have one.
Yeah, good
Rich
effing
Dad,
luck.
Poor Dad. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was a pretty good book.
All right,
but I don't believe in a lot of stuff they say in those books because it's fine in theory.
Yep.
But it just doesn't work in the practical buying, and y'all know that.
Yep. You got to get out there. You got to get out and do it. You got to get out there and do it.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There you go. Cool. Number 2.
What is your favorite business book?
I don't have a clue.
No.
I really don't. I don't read those kind of books.
Okay.
I read novels. I read them for enjoyment.
Well, how about this then? What's your favorite? Just, what have you been reading lately? Like, what's your something that you've read? It could be book, a resource, magazine, whatever. What have you been reading?
Oh, I like James Patterson. I like Robert Ludlum. I like novels like that. I'm trying to think of the author. I read a lot of books. What I do is I go to the bookstore every 2 or 3 weeks, and I buy bestsellers, novels, and they're generally on sale for $6.98. I buy 15 or 20 of them, and I'll probably read, maybe not every 2 weeks, but once a month, and I read maybe 5, 6, 7 books a month, 8 books, and I read because I almost any bestseller I always buy bestsellers, and they're always pretty good books. I buy novels, fiction, spy, detective, that sort of thing.
Did you read John Grisham's new one, The Rooster Bar?
I did. I just got finished with it.
Okay, yeah, because that reminded me of the conversation we had earlier about student loans.
Yeah, about student loans.
Yeah,
that
don't ruin it.
I won't ruin it. It is such a good.
I thought those guys were pretty cool. But what I couldn't figure out in that book is why in the hell they paid off their student loans. What's that?
She doesn't want. She hasn't read it. She doesn't want to hear it.
I haven't read it yet.
Okay.
No,
I'll just take off my headphones.
That's funny.
You guys talk.
No,
that's kind of book. That's kind of book I read in 2 days' time.
Yeah, I did too. Actually,
fun.
It is fun. Yeah, that was probably my favorite.
Read Stuart Woods books.
Which ones?
Stuart Woods. He's good. Tom Clancy's good.
Yeah.
Pick up some Stuart Woods books. He writes for that character named Stone Barrington, a New York attorney. They're really good books. They're fun, fast, and easy to read.
Cool. I'll check it out. All right. Well, good deal. Next one, Mindy.
What are your hobbies, Mike?
Playing cards, traveling, spending time.
What kind of cards?
Blackjack and poker, and then I like to play. I used to be a really good bridge player. I love to play bridge, but there's not many people around that can play worth a damn that I know.
I'm learning.
Are you?
I like to travel.
I'm learning. It is a tough game. There's a lot of rules.
It's the only game I could sit down and play bridge 24/7 and not ever bet a dime on. It's the only game I could play without money because it's brain against brain. It's cool. Cunning against cunning.
Well, Mike, you're gonna have to teach me someday. I'm gonna come down to your area. Where are you, in Dallas?
You're in Dallas. Call me either one of y'all. I'd love to.
That's awesome.
Entertain you.
And where do you travel to? Where's your favorite place in the world to go?
My favorite place is China.
Oh, never been.
I like it there. Oh, it's action. Everybody's on the hustle. Everybody. I mean, when I was over there, they called me a street peddler's delight because I love screwing with those people. I actually have to tell my hat, but I like the hustle. I like the atmosphere of it. I like the fact that they're all working. It's a very clean country. It's and you think New York's modern, Shanghai, there's so much new stuff over in China. It's really a cool place. I like Africa. I like Europe. I like all. I've never been to a place I wouldn't go back. Let me put it that way.
Yeah,
I love traveling.
All right, my last question of the day, Mike. What do you believe sets apart the successful investors out there from all those who give up or they fail or they just never get started? They never pull the trigger. What separates the successful ones?
I'd say one word: perseverance. Not ever giving up. If you have a setback, just pick yourself up and charge again. Keep on charging because you'll eventually break the barrier. But if you have a bad experience starting out with, don't let that. Because a lot of fortune in the United States, I would bet more fortune's been made through real estate than any other thing. I don't know that to be a fact, but I would bet that. So just don't give up. I mean, just because you get busted once or twice, that doesn't mean you should give up on it. So I'd say perseverance and keep on charging.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, that's awesome.
That's a great answer, Mike. Where can people find out more about you?
I don't know.
They can listen to the podcast again. What, you're not on Twitter? Come on, Mike.
Hold on, I've got this.
No, just go to reliancemortgage.com in Texas.
What is it?
And that's Reliance, RELIANC, mortgagecompany.com.
Reliance Mortgage.
RelianceMortgage.com.
Right. And I only do loans in Texas because when somebody else mentioned me on the podcast, I was getting calls from all over the country. And I don't mind taking them out. You can call me. I'll give you advice in that area. But I can't make loans in the state of Texas.
No.
Okay.
So
good to know.
I primarily do Texas.
And according to Cody, you also are Reliance Mortgage on Facebook and Reliance Mortgage on Twitter.
Oh, you are on Twitter.
You are on Twitter.
My kids do that for me.
Nice.
My loyal kids.
That's awesome. Well, Mike, thank you so much. This has been super.
I like y'all's attitude. I will say this.
Well, thank you.
Because you both know what you're talking about, which is refreshing.
Well, Mindy does. I make
Brandon's only 9.
Yeah, well, I don't care, but y'all are very good at what you do. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Mike. We'll see you definitely around soon.
All right, Merry Christmas, guys.
Hey, you too.
Okay, Merry Christmas, Mike. Bye-bye.
All right, big thanks to Mike. That was awesome. Man, I'm glad you pushed me to get Mike on the show, Mindy. You've been telling me about him for a while. That was fun.
I love Mike. And Tim Shiner sent him our way. I love Tim Shiner, too. Yes. Tim is just a really great guy. He also introduced us to Josh Randall from episode 242.
Tim is just a little networker, isn't he?
Apparently, Tim knows everybody.
Apparently. Now, that was a good show. I love just hearing the perspective from people who have not, I'm going to be honest, I've only been investing now for 10 years. That sounds like a long time in my head, but in reality, what have I seen? One up and one down in the market cycle? This guy's probably seen 20 of them, right? I love that perspective of the big picture of what real estate looks like over a lifetime, not just, an up and down. So.
And I like the basic information that he gives that, you might not hear because you're trying to do all these new strategies. What did he say? Call them. Keep calling them.
Yeah.
He called that woman, Evelyn, every single Friday.
Yep.
Perseverance.
Yep.
His answer to the
famous
question,
four?
how do you, the famous 4?
Yeah, what sets people apart?
Perseverance. Yeah, you know what? That's how you do it.
That's how you do
just keep pushing through.
I love it. Very, very cool. Yeah, and very neat strategy with the calling people. Just to give one little quick tip here at the end. Quick tip. And I say this a lot of times on these webinars that we do every week, where I'll suggest, go to Craigslist. He's not going to know what Craigslist is, I doubt. But, if you go to Craigslist and, go to the rental section and find some of these houses that are for rent, the landlords that are on, the mom and pop landlords that are listing their properties for rent, they give you their phone number in the ad. Could life get any easier? Leads get any easier? And put them in your little, what did he say, red notebook, yellow notebook, whatever he had. And then every Friday, why don't you call that landlord and just say, hey, just want to know if you're interested in selling yet, right? Build, or even if you didn't do it every week, what if you did it every month? What if you just built relationships? If you had 100, think of it this way, if you had 100 people on your list that were landlords in your area, How many of them every year might want to sell their property? Maybe 10%, maybe 20%, right? Like people sell all the time. So if you're the guy that consistently month after month contacts those people, you're going to be the guy that go do, because you're going to build relationships. They're going to want to sell to you because you've been persistent. So anyway, a little quick tip for you there.
And did you hear him say it doesn't cause cancer to pick up the phone and call them?
It could actually with cell phones, but
not on his cell phone.
Not on his phone. Yeah, I was gonna say he's got like the old like rotary on the wall. It's like spinning the dial around.
Yes, with the giant cord.
Yes, yeah. I remember like that's some of my earliest memories when my mom like taking like the 90-foot cord through like every room of the house, like to get away from the kids yelling. Yeah. Anyway. All right, let's get out of here, Mindy.
Okay, Brandon, thanks for letting me step into Josh's shoes. I appreciate it.
Should be fun. We should have Josh. It was fun, and we should have Josh back next week, I think. So,
yes, we will have Josh back next week.
Good. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being a part of the BiggerPockets podcast this week and listening to us ramble for an hour and a half with a really, really smart old investor. Don't tell him I said that.
Happy New Year, Brandon.
All right. Happy New Year, Mindy. And Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks so much. And don't forget to rate and review us and listen to Mindy and Scott's new BiggerPockets Money podcast. See you next week.
Okay. This is Mindy Jensen signing off. Is that what Brandon says? Or Josh?
That's what Josh says.
Who are you?
You're listening to BiggerPockets Radio, simplifying real estate for investors large and small. If you're here looking to learn about real estate investing without all the hype, you're in the right place. Be sure to join the millions of others who have benefited from BiggerPockets.com, your home for real estate investing online.